Continuing with the episode of the state parks of the Niagara region, we now continue to the oldest one of them all, and probably the most famous, Niagara Falls State Park, which is 221 acres acquired by the state of New York in 1885, originally known as the Niagara Reservation. The guidelines that promoted public ownership of the park were put forward in a special report in 1879, authored by Frederick Law Olmsted and James T. Gardner, the head of the state-appointed survey of Niagara Falls. Recall that Olmsted is also famous as the designer of Central Park, Prospect Park, Riverside Park, and many other urban parks that have a naturalistic appearance. New York State Assemblyman Thomas V. Welch worked tirelessly with the Free Niagara movement to save Niagara Falls from overdevelopment and commercialization. At the time, intellectuals such as Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, and Charles Darwin joined Olmsted and Welch in the movement known as Free Niagara. The movement believed that the natural beauty of the land surrounding Niagara Falls should be protected from commercial exploitation and remain free to the public. Among its supporters was a local resident, Governor Grover Cleveland, who later became president, and he signed the law that made it a state reservation. At the state reservation, the lands comprise of the American Falls, the Bridal Veil Falls, a small piece of the Horseshoe Falls, Goat Island, the Three Sisters Island, Green Island, and Luna Island. You can go near the waterfalls at a trail, close to waterfalls on a boat, and above the waterfalls on bridges. The popularity of saving Niagara Falls comes from the Hudson River School of Artists. From the 1820s to the 1870s, some of America's greatest landscape painters, such as Frederick Edwin Church, Albert Bierstadt, Thomas Cole, John Frederick Kensett, had painted these waterfalls, making them popular in the public imagination. But at the same time, there were also factories and mills on the cliffs above Niagara Falls that channeled the water through an underground canal to power the mills, spewing polluted water into the river below. And so in the first plan of Niagara Falls, you can see this Olmstedian landscape that took buildings out of Goat Island and brought in this naturalistic landscape. Today, Niagara Falls has a very beautiful postmodern style visitor center. And at the tip of Luna Island, near Bridal Veil Falls, there's a nice naturalistic landscape with pavings around it. Coming close, you can see how much Luna Island has changed to give it a much better appearance. And you could also see the visitor center, the old visitor center that closed in 2016, and the new visitor center that recently opened with solar panels on the rooftop and a zigzagging walkway for the wheelchairs and walkers, as well as a cascading staircase. Inside it are very beautiful exhibits on the human and natural history of Niagara Falls. But even before it was a state park, there's so much to say about its human history. For example, a funicular railway that used to go down to the bottom of the Niagara Gorge that has since been replaced with this tower, observation tower, and bridge that seems to dead end into the view of the falls. At Goat Island, there were bridges that lead to Goat Island and the sister islands, the outermost islands that face towards the Canadian waterfalls and the Canada border. And there used to be a hotel on the banks of the Niagara River that highlights its tourism history. At Niagara Falls State Park also used to be a highway, originally known as Robert Moses Parkway, that went from the city of Buffalo to Fort Niagara State Park. Originally, it was supposed to go even further towards Rochester and Lake Ontario. This parkway was recently given what we call a road diet, reducing it in size and creating more connections between the park and the city of Niagara Falls. It was also renamed Niagara Scenic Parkway, taking away Robert Moses' name. Now, don't feel bad for the guy. He still has a state park named after him on Fire Island and in the Thousand Islands. This is what the highway used to look like during the administration of Robert Moses as New York's master builder or planning coordinator. A massive parking lot and 2 pedestrian bridges connecting to the state park. But otherwise, the state park did feel cut off from the city that shares the name of the waterfalls. However, the plan for a parkway at Niagara Falls predates Robert Moses. Looking at this 1922 planning book for New York State Parks, the original parkway was supposed to run from Fort Porter in Buffalo, where Lake Erie drains into Niagara River, along the river to Fort Niagara, where Niagara River drains into Lake Ontario. Well, Fort Niagara eventually did become a state park. The parkway was built, but not Fort Porter. A fort dating back from the 1840s, decommissioned after World War I. Instead of becoming a park, it was demolished to build the approaches for the Peace Bridge that connects Buffalo to Canada. Only a small historical marker stands at the site of Fort Porter today. It's one of those state parks that never was. Buckhorn Island State Park is located at the northern tip of Grand Island, that island in the middle of the Niagara River between Buffalo and Canada. Buckhorn Island is largely a nature preserve that is 895 acres acquired by the state in 1935, a place for passive recreation. There are other places in Grand Island managed by the state parks and by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation that allows for wilderness to thrive. Big 6 Mile Creek Marina has boat slips and parking on Grand Island and a small concession shop with a parking lot at this protected harbor. That's the Big 6 Mile Creek Marina. And recently there were plans for this park to plant more native plants, improve the docks, create more parking spots, and overflow parking here at the Big 6 Mile Creek Marina located on Grand Island. At the southern tip of Grand Island is Beaver Island State Park, a small island that's connected to Grand Island. It is 952 acres, acquired by the state in 1935, has a beach, trails, golf, and a marina. The land for this park was donated by local elites after a fire in the 1920s had burned their mansions. Prior to that fire of the 1920s, the Beaver Island State Park had mansions such as the Falconwood Club, River Lawn, and River Lee. Very beautiful buildings that are no longer with us. You can see how the railing here resembles some of the state parks on the ocean side of the state, and sand brought in here also for that oceanic appearance on this freshwater beach. Buffalo Harbor State Park is 190 acres, one of the newer state parks in the system, acquired by the state in 2015. It's created from a portion of a larger transfer of 340 acres of land from the Niagara Frontier Transportation Authority to the Empire State Development Corporation. It includes a marina, a playground, and sitting areas overlooking Buffalo Harbor on formerly industrial land. The visitor center here also has solar panels, and this is what it looked like before: grain silos, boat docks on this very busy harbor that has since become much more passive. There's also city parks here next to the state park along the shoreline of the Buffalo Harbor. Woodlawn State Park, 107 acres acquired by the state in 1996. The grounds of this state park opened in 1892 with a toboggan slide and ice cream, at the time a new invention, as its main attractions. As early as 1894, ads bragged about this amusement park and its use of electricity. It was a very popular amusement and entertainment destination at the end of the 19th and early 20th century. But in 1922, Bethlehem Steel had bought some of the land to the north of this amusement park as industry took it over. And in the Great Depression, the park declined. The beach closed in the 1950s, and it was then owned by Buffalo Crushed Stone. New York State purchased the land back from Buffalo Crushed Stone in 1996, developing it as a state park with a beach and a catering hall that's used for weddings here. Just to the north of the state park, on the former Bethlehem Steel property, known as the Tonawanda Mill, there is a set of windmills generating electricity. This park is located at the easternmost tip of Lake Erie. So when you look east, you see an endless horizon, almost like an ocean. And on the other side is Ohio and Michigan, looking further to the end of this beach. But the state did not have enough money to maintain this state park. So from 2008 till 2020, it was operated by the town of Hamburg. As I mentioned, just to the north of it is the Bethlehem-Lackawanna Steel Mill site, a large industrial concern that has since closed down, largely demolished, and in the process of being redeveloped for parks and housing, but also has a solar panel site where solar energy is turned into electricity. And there are plans to create a trail that would connect Woodlawn Beach State Park to Buffalo Harbor State Park through the former Bethlehem-Lackawanna Steel Mill. Evangola State Park, 733 acres, acquired by the state in 1954. It has disc golf, camping, and a beach. prior to being a state park, and you can see it has a little parkway running through it, as well as campsites, beaches, small visitor center, and yurts where you can sleep overnight in the state park. This was a YWCA camp called 40 Acres that was founded in 1921. So a summer camp for girls that has since become a state park site. The park's name is a portmanteau, a combination of the names of the town of Evans and the village of Angola. So that's how Evangola got its name. The next and final episode, when it comes to the regions of the New York State Parks on the occasion of the centennial of the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historical Preservation, the year 2024, is the Allegheny region, the westernmost region, which includes a lighthouse recently acquired by state parks, a couple of marinas, a small amusement park with a miniature railway, Lake Chautauqua, a rail trail, and much more. I look forward to sharing that video with you in the near future. Thank you so much.